Greetings, listeners. Oh, shit, I had a whole thing
Turn
going.
ears. 2 words.
Greetings, listeners. Open ears and feast upon words of the noble house Xena Warrior podcast.
Yay.
I thought you were going to say Spartacast.
Spartacus.
Spartacus.
That's a different house.
Oh.
We have the beast of New York is here.
Oh my god.
Phil the
He has
Frenchie
entered the arena.
is in the arena.
He is ready for the blood sports.
He has a
beast of
a
New
White
York.
Claw
I get
toy, a white paw. Back to
I was scared for a second that we were going to have to talk that way the whole time.
we are
Like how we talked that way for our Married with Fish Sticks episode.
Well, let me
Our
continue.
commitment was not 100%.
Let me continue.
Okay.
All right.
Please
let me get back into
proceed, Dominus.
I'm getting back into character. So we're in House Xena Warrior podcast. I am your domina,
Okay. Excuse me, yes, you're Domina.
Verana.
Verana.
I am joined
All
by
right.
my 2 other domini,
Is that how that works? Okay.
Kateria
Okay. Hi.
and Olivia, because your name is
Is Roman.
Roman. There you go.
Right?
Thank
Cool.
you. That was fun.
And we can be ourselves again now.
Okay, great. Very good. Well done. Well done.
Yes, if you have not figured it out, we are going to be talking about Spartacus today.
Finally.
Not the old-timey movie.
1960s Stanley Kubrick film.
Nope,
Nope.
absolutely not. This is a television program from 2010, and it
Sounds
is
right.
it's a good one.
It's great.
Yeah.
We have been, peppering that in
Yeah.
for many years.
I think Katie's been threatening to do a Spartacast for basically the entire run of Xena Warrior podcast.
Well, it's very good. I
It
think
is
it's
very
one of
good.
those shows, let's just say right off the bat, that I think you have to get past the surface gloss of it, because it is an amazing, amazing show, and I feel like it's a little underrated.
I feel like the discourse is very similar to another show we love, Xena, in that,
Oh.
we've said, the surface, the skimpy costumes, the cheese, and you don't realize that it has these serious ambitions, both in storytelling and technically. I would say the exact same thing about Spartacus, except instead of skimpy costumes and cheesy dialogue, it's no costumes and blood! People's faces falling off, people's entrails being tied around their necks. What?
So many exposed body parts
Very
and all the sex
graphic.
ever.
It is
Yes.
heightened, the violence, but if you are opposed is the wrong word. If you are sensitive to it, it is very gross. It can be very gross, even if slightly unrealistic.
Yeah, it's so heightened that it doesn't really bug me. I mean, I don't think I'm sensitive, but I do have my moments of squeamishness.
Yeah.
And, this show does not trigger them because you're just like, did that guy's head just get entirely cut off
Right.
and now is flapping around his neck?
Right. Mine is still the little things. It's that guy's whole face fell off, and then there's that guy grabbed a sword with his hand, and the grab the sword with your hand. I'm like, no, my God, no.
Yeah.
So it's the more realistic little things are still the grossest. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves maybe, as per usual.
But it is really fascinating to me that, kind of, if you've been listening to Xena Warrior podcast in the later seasons of Xena, we were all like, oh my God, it's getting bloodier and more violent, and we're here for it.
Yep.
This is great. And I feel like the people behind the camera took that ethos and went up to 1,000 with it in Spartacus. Xena is kind of the beginning of that trajectory. And of course that follows what's going on in TV at the time. At this point, 2010, you have Sopranos is over and peak TV is coming.
Yes.
And I guess this is the end of golden age of TV.
Oh, dear.
Does that sound right?
Sure.
Yeah. So late golden era.
What is late golden? Is that Sopranos and Mad Men?
Breaking Bad. Which I think you do see how actually Spartacus is on the same wavelength as those shows in its kind of portrayal of a whole society, that it is both glorifying and indicting. That to me feels very Mad Men.
But the number one thing is that 300 was a movie
well, yeah,
in 2008, and everyone's like, cool. And also Starz is like, hey, we have a channel and we don't give a shit, so do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Hack off as many faces as you want.
Yeah, because they went right from Xena and Seeker, which were both syndicated, like, broadcast TV, to premium cable. Like, they didn't even have a middle stopping point on basic cable. Just straight to the premiums. I think I came across a thing saying Steve DeKnight, who's the executive producer, even admits that in the first few episodes he went a little overboard with that freedom.
Yeah.
And so, like, apparently they toned it down.
I mean, I'm skeptical whether they actually toned it down, but I think that the more episodes you watch, you begin to care about, like, the characters in the world, and it all just begins to make sense.
Yeah, and I think there are maybe points where you can argue some of it is just, like, gratuitous the right word? Sure. But, like, for the most part, everything is motivated on this show, which is why it's so great. Anyway, what is Spartacus? Who is it? Why are we talking about it? What's going on here? Why is it being brought up? And, this was, of course, a Patreon request.
Yeah, we were so eager to talk about the show, we leapt right in without talking about the prompt. So...
Yes. Put mouths to microphone and tell us the fucking prompt.
Liz hath spoken. Liz asks us to record a minisode about the best episodes of Spartacus.
Yay!
Cool, which we will do.
We will talk about those as well as just the entire show because our favorite episodes really are just the show.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll defend this choice.
What is it, Spartacus?
Yeah, so I guess 15 years after Xena premiered, or not premiered, but like was on or whatever, Rob Tapert was like, hey,
we know him.
Yeah, let's do this show about Spartacus, because I guess somebody was like, hey, why not Spartacus?
Yeah.
It sounds like he had been wanting to do kind of a show along these lines, like maybe not specifically Spartacus, but he wanted, like, you know, sandals and swords.
And
sandals.
We know his likes.
We have seen influenced on Xena, of course.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and he got Steve DeKnight to be the showrunner there.
Who is he?
Yeah, who dat?
We go way back with him.
He killed Tara.
He did, yeah.
So, point negative. He's great. As far as the people who came out of the Joss Whedon school, the Buffy school, I think.
He went on to Smallville. I think he actually may have run Smallville for a little while. He's been on a bunch of other stuff. I think he directed the sequel to Pacific Rim.
That's why a bunch of Spartacus people are in that. Yeah. And then he was also on Daredevil.
That's right.
The Netflix Daredevil.
Yeah, so big genre guy.
Yeah.
So this is definitely in his wheelhouse, but at the same time, he surprises me with this, because I do think this, you wouldn't go like from Buffy to this necessarily.
Sure.
Like,
you could write a paper about how Spartacus is a superhero.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So there you go. Well, the point is that this show is really good, and is
that the point?
We like this showrunner.
Yeah. Oh, that reminded me of something. So I long point to TV critic Mo Ryan, who championed the show forever. She actually made a comparison to Buffy in Spartacus. She just reminded me of it in one of her many articles that she wrote about this show. But basically, just it's a fairly straightforward point, but that Buffy uses genre and these heightened elements of monsters and things to tell this very intense, not intense. Well, intense. I don't know why I said intense, but intricate, complicated stories about characters and issues and things. And I
think
Spartacus,
being a young person,
yeah, Spartacus does the same thing with these kind of very grand ideas about empire and greed and oppression and things, but with this like very specific language and style and stuff. So it's kind of like Buffy uses
true.
a certain genre and style to tell this kind of story.
That's
And
actually a
Spartacus-
really good point, that
stuff.
Buffy has this very heightened and specific dialogue, and so does Spartacus, sounding nothing at all like Buffy, but it definitely kind of invents its own flavor for language, and in that way reminds me a little bit of Deadwood, which is a little earlier, I think, but maybe an influence here.
Yeah, Deadwood as well as Spartacus came up with their own sort of like poetry of the dialogue.
Yeah, you feel it's not like the dialogue isn't the star here the way it is for Deadwood, but that it evokes the past just enough, and it's a lot of fun. It's very funny dialogue, especially when Lucy Lawless is speaking it.
Yeah.
Have we mentioned that Lucy Lawless is
Lucy Lawless, we know her.
Yeah.
She's also in this.
Yeah, and coincidentally, we're going to have a Lucy Lawless IMDb experience episode on our Patreon about Spartacus.
About Lucy Lawless.
Her role on Spartacus.
Like a deep dive.
Dive
we're gonna
into
go
the
even
pre-show.
further.
Then do it.
Yeah,
if you're
so
interested.
check that out
It'll
on
be
our
over there.
Patreon.
Not that we won't talk about her here.
Yes, we will not mention her at all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
She's
no,
not
She
mentioned.
who must not be named.
Yes.
Batiatus and wife of Batiatus.
So we got our Xena creative team. We got a Buffy creative team. We got.
It's true, which in a way is like a wonderful coming together of two opposing teams that we at least tried to make. We tried to make it into a competition.
It's not a competition.
It is though, because Xena did it first. But here they are, like combined on this super show, which kind of features the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Right, yes. And also some Seeker, because it came before, and literally, like, as a progression in my mind, I look at Xena to Seeker to Spartacus as, like, this kind of journey.
Yeah.
As like a visual development and everything, and it's very fascinating.
And then we get to Spartacus, and I'm like, oh, what if Xena had all this money?
Right? What if
all
they had
this
all this
technology?
technology? Yes, it would have been.
I mean, we love
incredible.
it as is, but I want to see that modern take.
This was a big hit for Starz. Like, it's one of the few shows where they were getting more money by the end than they were getting to start with.
Cool.
I mean,
Good.
probably Xena too must have had a bigger budget at a certain stage than in that early season with the 16 millimeter film.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, this at one point was the #1 watch show on Starz because people love blood and boobs.
Yeah,
but I think also
bread and circuses.
Yeah, bread and circuses, and the characters are so appealing right away. And the plotting is very intricate.
it is.
Yes.
And very exciting.
One must follow closely or read a summary. And it is, of course, based on history.
Yes.
To an extent.
More of an extent than Xena, for sure.
More of an extent than Xena, and just the complicated, history of the actual history that it's based on is, very sketchy indeed as well. So you can have a lot of liberty, I think, when you're
it was
making
written by the victors, who would be the Roman
the who now, the
aristocrats.
Roman.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. Oh, spoilers.
Yeah, a little bit of historical spoilers.
The Spartacus War does not
forgive
go
us.
well.
Yeah.
For Spartacus.
This isn't the happiest show, but at the same time, it is a celebration of freedom and of uprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
if you're looking for something to watch right now, Spartacus might be a interesting
Spartacus
choice.
feels very relevant, and I'm sure it felt very relevant in 2010 when they were making it as well.
Yes, it's always relevant. Yeah.
Which is sort of that well, we'll get into it,
All
but there's some speeches that feel particularly potent.
All right, so we talked about the showrunners. I want to point out some the plot keywords on IMDb. There are like 114 of them.
Are they boobs and blood?
No, so the first ones really made me laugh. They go gladiator, gay, female nudity, violence, slave.
Okay.
Wow.
That sums it up, I think, in 4 words.
Male nudity should really be there too.
Yeah, what was it again?
I'm sure it is.
Wait.
There's 114 more.
Okay.
Gladiator, gay, female nudity, violence, slave.
So it's conqueror fic.
Ooh.
It is.
Likes.
Yeah.
Problematic.
I would say there is definitely a plot line with Lucy in the role of Conqueror that kind of does hit some of those kinks.
Problematic.
But delicious. So the first thing that jumps into your eyeballs.
Kind of literally jumps into your eyeballs. A lot of people jump in this show.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
pilot.
Yeah, it's the way that it's made, the look of it, right? So we
It's
talked
very
about
from this time period.
Yeah. But I also like I genuinely like love that sort of style. So for me, it's like classic, amazing look. Of
You
this time period.
mentioned already the stylistic influence.
Yeah, so 300, but I think like not just the movie 300. Well, I mean, the movie was stylizing itself of the graphic novel. So they're also claiming that it's like the graphic novel that they're stylizing themselves from. But everybody, like mostly people, I think, have seen just the movie, right? Not everybody goes to read the source or has read the source first. So everyone's familiar with like Gerard Butler, This is Sparta, that whole
Slow
thing.
jumping,
a lot of like blood,
abs,
abs everywhere,
painted
abs.
on. I mean, there are abs that are really there, but then they paint on some more.
I think they, those abs are deep.
Well, so there's like all this blood, and it's a green screen show. Like everything's green screen and heightened and ridiculous and amazing.
And I think actually, especially in the first season, like they go really hard. It almost like reaches this level of like surrealism. Where you're just like, where are we?
Yeah.
We're just like in a field of blood explosions.
Yes. I think that for anybody who's listening who hasn't seen the show, that the first, and Vera like disagrees with me, but that's okay. And this kind of goes back to the Steve DeKnight comment about the first couple episodes. The episode, don't worry about it. I think it's one of those things where you have to watch it. You have to,
it's literally
you have to
set
get
up.
into it. I know, but it's not. It's a lot. You just kind of. It's a journey that you go on, and the first episode is a lot to take in visually and just generally. I don't think it's like that great, but as you keep watching, it gets very good. So I think it's one of those things where, and it's certainly such the way that it is that you might find yourself like 5 episodes in going, I don't know if this is for me. But if you like keep watching it, it gets super great. I think it's one of the things you have to like give it a go. Just
Steve
going.
DeKnight said that he had a problem with the network at that point, kind of like because they wanted to be like super 300.
Yeah, that's my whole
that's
thing.
The vibe. I think they do move away from that.
That's exactly what
I think that's what I'm trying to say. Is it sort of just feels like they're just trying to do this. It's so derivative, and not using it to its own advantage.
Well, I think there's two sort of like influences. I would say there's the 300 influence, and then there's also this like super famous painting called Pollice Verso, which means with a turned thumb.
With a turned thumb.
Yeah, by a French artist named Jean-Léon Gérôme, and it's from 1872, and that's like of a gladiator in an arena, and then there's some Vestal virgins being like, down, kill them all.
Nobody's more bloodthirsty than Vestal virgins.
I know. And I feel like, he wanted to sort of like veer it slightly away from the just 300, graphic novel style, more towards like, and also we have some like history here, like look at this. Yeah, supposedly also this painting influenced Gladiator, the movie.
Which is probably an influence on the show.
I can't see why it
wouldn't
be.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the most famous gladiator thing besides like Spartacus the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that the look, sometimes I like it, sometimes I think it's a little silly. The silliness, I feel like it's one of those things where your eyeballs kind of adjust.
Yeah, they
you
totally
just
do.
like sink into the world of the show.
Right.
After a while, you're not
You don't
really
pay
thinking
attention
about
to
it.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the world building is incredible.
Yeah. And, I think it's interesting that it styles itself so much in this kind of graphic novel fashion. Because, as you were saying, Vera, like Spartacus is like a superhero. And, all of the gladiators sort of, have like a persona in the arena. They're larger than life, much like a superhero. So, when you have like the team ups in the arena, that's like the Avengers coming in. And everybody knows them.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were. I mean, like, these people did not have the internet. So, like,
they
going
really
to the
did
arena
not.
was like the biggest deal for them. And historically, they did create like weird characters out of their gladiators, and everybody was like known. You know, you were like famous like from being a gladiator. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that the real life Spartacus is like kind of about how the like entertainment and political spheres can kind of combine and create these charismatic figures, which is very relevant to today's world.
We're all good over here.
Oh boy. Okay, so this show has, well, I always say it has 3 seasons and a prequel.
That is how it's described, yeah. Season 1, prequel,
2 and 3. Yes.
And they all have different names, like American Horror Story.
But they're not anthologies, they're following.
I know, and they're very much not anthologies.
But they're very serialized. Like, it's like one whole thing. Sort of.
But yeah, each season does kind of have a focus and a theme.
Yeah, exactly.
And they all make sense.
Mm-hmm. And it's one great journey to go on, that's for sure.
I agree. Everybody go on the Spartacus journey.
I'm a hipster, and my favorite is the prequel.
It's good. I think that comes from a place of very, it's a good Lucy.
Oh,
very
yeah.
Good
It unfortunately for me, it combines a lot of my faves into one place, and it's like, whoa, of course I'm going to love this the most.
Jamie Murray.
Yep. All right, so season 1, you meet Spartacus.
Blood and Sand.
Spartacus, Blood and Sand. Did it start by being called Blood and Sand, or did they start doing it like with Gods of the Arena, like calling it stuff?
Blood and Sand is the name
always?
of a old-timey gladiator movie.
Oh,
so I'm not
that's
sure
cool.
if like
I'm pretty sure, like looking up reviews of the first season, it is referred to that way. But I don't know. It may have been already a decision to kind of distinguish them because they were going to make Gods of the Arena.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't exactly know how that played out.
Gotcha.
So yeah, season 1.
Curious.
Spartacus, we meet him. He's a Thracian, and if you're me, you think of Cara Thrace, but
But also Xena.
But also Xena, yes.
Which is interesting, yeah. That gotta love those Renpix shows about Thracians.
Yeah, and he's very like, don't they kind of make fun of the fact that he's Thracian?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely
Like
some
Xena
Thracian prejudice.
phobia
he's
against him.
leading an uprising in
Yeah.
Thrace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those Thracians,
Well,
you can't keep them down.
So a lot of it is like also like really complicated, like Roman politics of like these guys are from here, but
We
they
don't
fight
have
for
to
us,
get
but then they like rebel and this
into
and
it.
that and that, and then
Yeah, I think like what's interesting about the show is the way that like the scope changes. Like when you're in season 1 and you're in Blood and Sand, it's like very specific. What you were just describing is like very huge like movements of like rebellion and armies and stuff, but it's very like
small.
Spartacus uprises against Glaber because he's like mad at him for doing a thing, and it's a whole
That's like just the pilot.
I'm
That's the
already
pilot.
going off the rails because I'm like, and then Alithio, she did this and that. Basically,
No.
he becomes.
Look,
like,
this guy
wait.
was a dick to his Roman commander, and he was sentenced to death, and they were like, you know what,
That's
you'd
I'm
be a
getting at.
gladiator.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And then the scope of the season is much smaller and like contained to the
House of
Batiatus.
Yes, and his
and then
ludus.
you get the prequel, which is about like the
rise of the House of Batiatus.
And then once you get into season 2 and 3, it kind of becomes this like huge in scope because
they leave the House of Batiatus.
and then it becomes even more confusing. So I feel like it does take a little bit of like paying attention.
Yeah, and then if you miss sort of like the I guess if you want to call it coziness of like, they're
gladiator school.
Yeah, it's cute. They train and then they fight and then they train and then they fight, etc. Then you're like, oh, okay, I guess they're outside now, kind of leading a rebellion.
Yeah.
Well, it actually really reminds me of like the Hunger Games, and like the first 2 books. It's like, oh my God, they're in the arena again. Time for another Hunger Games. And then when they finally get out of the arena, and you're like, oh, good, freedom. It's like war. War is just another Hunger Games.
Or it's just another Hunger Game.
And it's kind of true of Spartacus as well, which is that, you literally sometimes have Spartacus's army staging gladiatorial combat.
Yes.
Like, the show never actually moves away from kind of...
Well, that's their skill.
We love arena. We love fights. Which, I mean, is perfect. Because that's not an indictment.
It's like all their train... I mean,
what that
their main
show
training.
is about is, even war is a spectator sport. And hence the gladiators are great at it.
Yes.
Oh, should we just go through the main who are all the characters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's time for characters.
Okay.
I am Spartacus.
No, you're not. Because that's not a real thing that happened.
Right.
So there you go.
But he does shout it at one point.
He does say I am Spartacus.
Because it much is made in the first season that is not his name. It is an identity crafted for him by Batiatus.
Right. We do not know his name for reals.
Yeah. He's just a guy.
Yeah, and nobody knows
Steve.
What happened to him.
It's definitely Steve.
No, that's the name of the showrunner.
Oh, that's probably why it's Steve.
So, big characters that are there in the show for us to know.
Okay, so let's go gladiators and then Romans.
Okay.
These are the cast of characters, basic. These are the people you gotta know.
It's like Downton Abbey, upstairs, downstairs.
Dude, it's crazy that you say that. Mo Ryan wrote an article called "Is Downton Abbey and Spartacus the Same Show?"
Oh my god, can you imagine Mrs. Patmore launching a rebellion?
I am telling you.
I wish.
Jumping through the air with her pots and
I'll send this to you later.
I would have loved that version of Downton Abbey. Seriously.
Oh my goodness. All right, so you said gladiators. Okay, well, there's Spartacus. Okay. And then in season 1 he's played by Andy Whitfield, and then season 2 and 3 he's played by Liam McIntyre, and then there is Crixus,
played by Manu Bennett,
who y'all
would recognize
know.
and immediately sing some Carnival in your head.
He played Antony.
And
Xena. Mm-hmm. And he and Lucy Lawless have amazing chemistry again.
Yeah, I mean,
in a weird way.
It's not great. Not great, Bob. But yes, I would agree. Crixus is great. Who else we got in season 1?
Doctore.
Yes, he's Peter Mensah, and this was probably they were probably like he when they cast him because he's in 300. Yeah. You might know him as "This is Sparta, kick you in the well" moment.
Hey. Real name Enemies.
Yes.
He's the instructor.
Yeah.
Former gladiator, now instructor.
Mm-hmm. And he's really, really good in this.
Yeah,
At the
his
Ludus.
character
He learns so many
is
words.
fascinating.
Yes.
Gods of the Arena is very great for Animaeus too, I would say. Lucretia, Animaeus are MVPs in terms of getting to go back and do a lot with their characters. Yeah.
None for you, John Hannah.
Oh, well, he's great the whole time. I love John Hannah.
I like seeing him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But his, I feel like
I'm trying not to
more,
spoil, but whatever.
His arc is more you're oh yeah, of course.
Whereas oh my God.
Some of the other people go to unexpected places.
There's so many gladiators, you guys. Okay,
I just said the main ones.
The main ones.
Varro.
Well, Varro's in season 1. Jay Courtney, you might know him as a blown-up actor.
Yeah.
Since then,
he does stuff.
Suicide Squad
That's
and all
right.
sorts of shit.
Yeah.
A Terminator, I think.
He was the bad Terminator.
He's just some people are you still trying to make Jay Courtney happen.
I remember rolling my eyes at him because he's just so white bread to me. But then I saw him
literally
as
is white
Varro,
bread.
and I was like, oh, he's really good.
He's
really good.
He has Justin Timberlake's hair.
He has Justin
from
Timberlake's
NSYNC.
hair, which is a little silly, but I'm sure kind of slightly period
Yeah.
accurate. But he's great. He's the bestie, and it's kind of a stereotypical role, but he gives it a lot of gravity, and his parts of season 1 really got me. Where his character ends up really got me.
For sure.
Yeah.
I loved him and Spartacus and their BFF nature, and how you sort of find out that he a lot of them are slaves, but he is not a slave like that. He kind of owes debts, and so he kind of went
willingly sold himself to the ludus.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I feel like through his character, you get this much more nuanced picture of Roman society. You see, not just like empire building slaves from other places being sent there, but like actual Roman citizens are locked into this stratified culture where you could end up a gladiator having to kill people for money, I guess.
Yeah. There's Barca, who I really love.
Barca's great.
He's this actor Antonio Te Maioja, and he was in like a couple episodes of Xena. He played, if you guys remember, in Chakram.
They remember.
He's Cal, and I was always like, Barca.
We probably mentioned it at the time.
And he's in a relationship with another gladiator, Pietros, is that it, his name?
I think so.
And that guy is in Jessica Jones.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So yeah, that's the
they have a really tender relationship, which gives like the first season a lot of humanity.
And much credit to Stephen DeKnight, who put like several gay relationships into the show that are really, really great, number one. And then number two, didn't listen to any single person who asked him to stop. Because he got a lot of complaints.
Oh, wow.
From stupid dudes watching Spartacus.
Right, because it's like, obviously the first thing you would do is make some of the gladiators be gay.
And, he was just like, if you don't like it, do not watch my show.
That's nice.
So,
it's very good.
Go Steve.
Yeah. And, this is like technically a spoiler, but it's like a nice spoiler, is that some gays like really, really make it out of this show.
Yeah, it doesn't bury all the gays.
Some of them really do.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, on a show where like
they're the only ones who make it out.
Like 80% of this cast gets killed.
Yeah. It's not a spoiler because they're involved in a historical war where everyone died.
Don't get attached to anyone if you're watching this program.
Really.
But you can get attached to some of the gays.
Yeah. We won't tell you which one.
Yeah, no,
Until that's the spoiler zone. Oh, sorry.
Other characters who we love come in later seasons.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about them now?
Are they gladiators?
Yeah, some of them.
Like a key, I just thought like a quick reference key, like this is who these players are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gannicus is probably my favorite of the gladiators.
Yes. Liv and I love him. I have like a weird my hipster answer for him just because he's like so different from Spartacus.
Yeah, he's in some ways the star of Gods of the Arena, the prequel. Right. So he kind of fills in for Andy Whitfield as that kind of central figure, charismatic central figure. But he's like the anti-Spartacus, and that he's a star of the Arena who kind of is completely self-involved and doesn't care about anything. Yeah,
and Steve DeKnight said that in the script he's written described as Han Solo meets Achilles, and as a fan of Troy, I get it.
Gotcha. I think that's a
fan of Star Wars
description.
So Ganny, we love him.
He's a lot of fun, and his arc over this series is amazing.
Yeah, and really like probably my favorite moment is probably like a scene involving him.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in the spoiler corner at the end.
Yeah,
and there are ladies in this.
The lady gladiators you're talking about?
Yeah, well, I was
quote unquote. They're not really gladiators.
Not gladiators. I guess I was more like this side of the playing field versus the. I guess
the nobles
in the house too, but they're not. The Downton Abbey, the downstairs.
Sure, there's the lady characters are not gladiators, but they are like house slaves. So there's like Navia. She's cool. In the prequel, there's Melita, that's Ananias' wife.
She's great.
She's cool. And then later, they make some, like later when the rebellion starts and they're outside of the house, they, encounter more lady characters. Like there's a cool Viking-ish German character, hilariously named Saxa. They try to make her happen. I didn't feel it, but okay.
Where were you? Yeah. All right. Upstairs.
Yes, upstairs. Thank you. This is where I feel like the lady characters shine because they're Lucy Lawless.
Yes.
So she's there.
Right.
Yeah. I'm gonna repeat myself. I'm literally gonna say the same thing in our Minisode about our IMDb experience about her. But like this is arguably her greatest role since Xena, and like nothing has come since that's been as good as this. And
My
Xena,
life is murder.
no, that's
but that was
bullshit
such a
compared
fun-
to this. Come on, this is an incredible role.
This is what it's
incredible
absolutely amazing
role.
in this role. Yeah,
And like, yeah.
Basically, in this
Save it.
season, it's Lucy and John Hannah,
Yes.
who are the
Domina and Dominus
of the House of
Batiatus.
They're basically like trying to move up
Yeah.
in society. I like to joke that they're just trying their best, which is like, a poor taste joke about basically slave owners. And they are so charismatic and wonderful and great, and have a very interesting relationship, I think, these two characters, because they like genuinely love each other, but then do all this crazy stuff. Lucy kind of described them as like Macbeth and Lady Macbeth.
Yeah, you
Makes
definitely
sense.
see that.
The vibes there.
Yeah.
Who else is here?
Well, you have
Pumpkin!
yeah.
Pumpkin.
We have Glaber and his wife Alithia, who are also, trying their best in a sense, where he's a Roman, like, military guy who kind of married into wealth. His wife is from a rich family, and he's trying to, like, up
Also
himself,
move up.
in his, in his ranks and into the Senate. And I remember when we talked about Tehelicon, and I was like, "Oh, Craig Parker, I don't know." Like, I forget what I said. I don't know if I changed my mind.
You felt like he was too much of a boy man, I think, to be a Bellerophon.
Bellerophon, and then I was like, when we talked about Legend of the Seeker, I was like, "Oh man, he was totally miscast as Dark and Raw."
I still can't believe you thought that.
I think
Do you think
he was.
Is he miscast as Glaber?
This is the role he was meant for.
No?
He's perfect as Glaber.
Fantastic.
He's great at like wanting to be a bigger man than his skills can give him. And, like, I love that, and he plays that so well. He's so perfect here. He looks great as a Roman.
Yeah, he has the Roman profile.
Yeah, and he's perfect, and I enjoyed every second of him. And his wife is really fantastic, Alithia.
Yeah.
Played by Viva Bianca, who wins for names.
Yes.
Well, Lucy Lawless is pretty great. We know her already.
She's really fantastic, and her relationship with Lucretia is so great. And anytime they like, "Hey, girl," she like kisses her in the mouth, and a snake hiss always happens.
Snake hiss. It's so
Always
good.
happens.
It's
It's
like,
so
do
great.
you think that this is like a friendship?
do you think she's bad?
But yeah, I mean, okay, these are all the like main players. I just feel like there's names, and we'll talk about them, and those are who they all are. So you probably have forgotten, but that's fine.
Yeah, right. I mean, I genuinely can't think of any other like ladies other than besides
Gaia,
Jamie Murray's
character.
Gaia. She's
anyway,
fantastic.
There's just it's Shakespearean. There's just so many people and so many intricate relationships, and there's also like a lot of romance, which is nice if you like that. Which I think like you have to have in a show like this.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like half and half violence and romance, and there's
sometimes
sex.
You can't tell the difference between them.
Right, but there's sex, and then there's always like love, and unfortunately, like my number one criticism of the show is that like so many fridgings happen, and I don't think they did a really good job with the women, and besides our main Roman ladies. Because I feel like, Navy, besides Navy, but I mean, like the why, fucking like
Spartacus's wife, and Vera, who is Spartacus's next love interest.
Yeah,
not
they're
a good
so
character.
blah, and then like you could do a supercut of like
they do in the show. There is literally a supercut, like Spartacus, like remembering all the terrible things that have happened to him, which is just ladies dying.
Yeah, and it's so annoying.
Somebody else threw in there too. I'm trying not to spoil.
Yeah, it's. I mean, but
that's what
I would
bugs me.
agree. I think that like this show is fantastic. Yeah. I think like I'm gonna say something that might get Vera mad, but I mean it is up there almost as good as Game of Thrones, if not as good.
It's different.
It's certainly different.
It's different, but there's similarities.
But there's so many similarities.
I think a lot of things that people criticize Game of Thrones for, gratuitous violence, gratuitous sex, blah blah blah. Like, I think that it depends. Like, in a series that is X amount of episodes long, of course there are going to be moments that like are maybe gratuitous, of course. But like I think
Yeah,
on
but
the
you're
whole,
dealing with Roman society.
I
It
know.
makes sense
what I'm saying,
here.
What I'm saying is that I think that in both of those shows, like the majority of moments are like motivated by the plot and by the characters and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like anytime you're looking at the show and you're like, this show is full of sex, bleh, but like it's always motivated by something. It's like always like, what do characters like? What does this character want right now? And then
How
it's
can
just
they
like,
get it?
And how can they get it?
often
And a
sex
lot
is
of it is
involved
about
in those
sex.
plots. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, some like Game of Thrones did some of that stuff really, really well with
That's what I'm saying.
Peter Baelish. But like, I would have to say like a lot of the sex, it goes back to 300. Like that, you know.
But I think
Lena Headey, who I
300
love, had like a ridiculously staged sex scene with Gerard Butler right before he left.
This show is so much
you know.
smarter than 300.
Yeah. Oh my
Well,
god.
that's a movie, and this is
That's
like a
what I'm
show.
trying to say is that like if you think it's like and it's a fun movie but it has a lot of issues that like if you think it's like that it's much smarter. That's what they have
But
to, like,
there's
get
always
under
a
under
intense.
it and then you'll see.
You know what else? You know what else? Stars. Okay, this is this show at a certain point, but then now they've transitioned to like so like Outlander equally
Yeah.
had the like insane ridiculous sex scenes. And then, like, whatever, some
A lot of
crazy-
violence,
lot of
yeah.
blood and violence, like, etc. So it's just, you know, in ancient Roman time when they were, like, really intense people, I think that if anything, it belongs the most here. And so,
Sure.
therefore, like, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
There was, like, an entire scene with, like, a crazy orgy.
Yeah.
Where they, like, literally had to hire some kind of, like, New Zealand company that, like, does orgies.
Wow.
to film that.
That's amazing.
But I mean, Game of Thrones also had a weird scene like that. But
Yeah,
anyway.
but I do think you're hitting on something interesting, Vera, which is that like the show Spartacus is about the spectacle of gore and violence, and also about like sexuality and how it can be this like wonderful, like beautiful, gentle thing, or it can be used against people to absolutely destroy them and everything in between. And I feel like that's what the show was about. It like the violence and the sex aren't just like set dressing. They are like literally like why you're watching because it's what the show is about.
Yeah.
So I feel like Spartacus somehow avoided like the hot takes a little bit. I don't know if it's
That's why I think it's under the radar more. Yeah.
But I would be very curious to hear the hot takes if people started watching it now, what they would say. I'm sure it has its problems.
Yeah. Anything does. Anyway, but yeah.
The fridging.
I mean, that's
what
so
we're talking about.
annoying. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really hard. Like, I mean, they did a great job for the most part, but I can see why. I can see how, like, in a show where so many of the characters are like, you know, warrior men, where it's like, oh yeah, and then like that's his girlfriend, and so oh yeah, she's definitely gonna get killed at a certain point because like our main character here is the dude, you know.
Yeah.
So Spartacus, like, it's because it's like all the fridgings mean like he doesn't really even get like the main like kind of relationships. I feel like
he does.
Like
Crixus and Nevia.
Crixus and Nevia is the biggest.
Yeah.
And then even just one season, House of Batiatus.
House of Batiatus is a great love story.
Agron,
I guess 2 seasons.
And,
that's like
Messier in the later seasons.
in the later seasons. Yep.
Yeah,
good stuff.
And then like really bad characters that like you can't think of for like Gannicus.
Oh, Gianni.
One thing I wanted to quickly revisit, which I just was very struck by as we were describing, especially the upper class characters, the Roman characters, like everybody's this is a society where like everybody's struggling for survival and everybody's trying to move up. And I think that's really interesting and smart the way the show is written so that your Romans are also social climbers, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're constantly rooting for them.
They're precarious. Like, their, like, station in society could so easily be pulled away from them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're on the battlefield one day, you're inside the arena the next. Like, I feel like the show does a great job of kind of portraying that it's a system that's kind of keeping everybody in this, like, fight or flight mode.
Right.
System is bad.
System bad.
System bad.
Yeah, and then you're constantly like, you know, you accept that the food chain sort of, right? You're like, oh man, Lucretia and Batiatus, you know, Quintus, they're so rich and like
have
well
all this
established. They have all this
power
power.
over-
They're not
then,
even that rich.
And then
No,
comes in
they're
some
not
fucking
rich at all,
guy.
which is part of it.
Yeah. And they're like forced to do this crazy shit that they don't even want to do because they can't, like
they can't say no.
Yeah, so it's really good.
And that kind of keeps happening till the end. You have Crassus and Julius Caesar. There's always somebody more powerful coming in and somebody hungrier.
You
coming
get all the way to
in.
the end and you have quote unquote the richest man in the Roman Republic. Crassus.
Right, Crassus, yeah.
According to Wikipedia.
Yeah, and let me say, a crazy thing I found out about Crassus. There's if you guys want another podcast about Spartacus, there was a good episode from Stuff You Should Know. And they mentioned how Crassus did this crazy thing where he, like, if a house was on fire, he would be like, hey, I have this private fire brigade here. They can put it out for you, but you have to sell me your house.
Whoa! Oh my god!
And then, so like,
did he set the fire? How was the
maybe,
fire brigade there?
Probably,
with him
probably.
already?
That's sort of the American healthcare system, frankly.
I don't know. It reminded me of when Kanye had his own fire brigade to battle the wildfires.
Whoa. I missed that bit of news. I did.
That was like last year's
Wow.
fires, not this year.
Got it.
Yeah. So anyway, back to this show.
One thing that I feel we need to talk about a little bit is the tragedy that happened to the show between its first and second season, which is that the star, Andy Whitfield, was diagnosed with cancer, and Gods of the Arena, which we love,
We do love it.
was actually just a production curveball. They had to scramble and make something else to give Andy time to recover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he didn't, and they recast with Liam McIntyre in the later seasons.
Yeah, in seasons 2 and 3.
I mean, he was fantastic. In season
We can talk about the two different Spartacuses, I think.
Spartacus
it's
and
interesting.
Spartacus. I am Spartacus. No, I am. I'm
Spartacus.
sorry, Vera.
It's like
I
the
was gonna keep
Spider-Man.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do always feel a little like twinge of bad loving Gods of the Arena because it is that curveball. But they did a really great job with a really sad circumstance that they had to deal with while making this show.
Well, to be fair, I mean, at that point, I think they were giving him the opportunity to recover.
Right, and he was going to come back, which unfortunately he couldn't. Yeah, but it was a really cool idea. So the first season is basically them escaping from the House of Batiatus, and the second season goes back in time to show you. It goes back in time 5 years to show you the rise-ish of the House of Batiatus. So you get a lot more Lucy time, a lot more John Hannah time, and you get a season where
you get the origin of her wigs.
You get the origin of Lucy
Yeah,
Lawless'
a lot
wigs.
of things get explained as always.
And
in the
I
prequel.
think would be like relevant to everybody listening. Lucretia's relationship with Gaia, played by Jamie Murray, which is problematic but very cool
incredible
and sexy and fun. And those are two really fun ladies who clearly had a great time together. Off screen, in like some of the backstage stuff. Really funny. I love them both. But I thought Andy Whitfield was great.
He was really great
as Spartacus, and it is an adjustment to get used to Liam in the second season, who I think is also quite good, but not as good, and that's not his fault.
Yeah.
Like he stepped into something very difficult.
You would cast someone who was as good. I
could have
honestly,
cast different things. I saw like names of like other actors.
Well, you want to get the best person.
You want to get the best person for the role,
find.
and it's quite possible. I think if Liam had come into like his own part, but I feel like he's trying to kind of inhabit Andy, and that's all he needs to do, and he does it. And I wouldn't want him to do anything
I think
else.
He brings
but
his own.
that.
He's his own dude. Like I mean, they're separate.
He looks different. I mean, I should think they did
different.
cast him to look similar in like vein to what this character should look like, but I feel like he has such a different vibe. It just is like a dude, like his face.
Yeah.
And he just like strikes me. it doesn't feel like a different character, but in some ways it does, just because he can't help his face. Being different. Like, I get, like, more
But
of, like...
I feel like they cast him because of the intensity in the eyes is the same. But everything else is very different.
He's good. I do think he's good. It also meant that the actress who plays Navia is recast as well, because of, number one, production delays, but maybe actually, number one, that...
Contract.
There was a contract dispute, and they did not give her the money that she wanted. A little unclear. So there's also another actress who plays her, who is also quite good. But it's odd because you get used to a different...
I think I like the
actor.
second one for her, TBH.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. She works better.
Yeah.
Kind of, I mean...
It's not the main role of the show, so it's like maybe a little bit easier.
Nivea kind of transforms over the course of her character.
Like Gabrielle.
Yeah. So it kind of works to have a different actor step in.
Yeah.
It's obviously like a little bit more of an adjustment for Spartacus, who was, the center of the show, and in some ways meant to be sort of the moral, touchstone, though obviously he screws up and makes mistakes. Yeah.
But like I said, his eyes are very intense, but he does have like a little bit of spittle all the time in his mouth. Just FYI.
I said he looked like kind of like he plays like a sport. Like he felt like more of like a I don't know. I got like a 1 second vibe from him of like just like more of a bro who plays like football, American football.
Not an American Gladiator.
Which is not the vibe of like original Spartacus.
Yeah, no.
I guess in a way that's what I'm saying is there's something a little shallow about it. But I mean, he's like good. He's fine.
Look, they have their reasons. I wonder why he got cast over like Stephen Amell, stuff like that.
Was Stephen Amell up there?
Interesting.
IMDb said also Wentworth. What was the name? Prison Break guy.
Oh,
Wentworth Miller.
Yeah.
No, I don't like that.
I mean, clearly,
writer of Stoker.
yes.
But yeah, I think it's hard. That's a hard thing for a guy to come in and do. He seemed like a really cool guy.
I think it's really brave.
Yeah. He was in a tough spot.
And I applaud everybody involved, because obviously it's a very emotional and painful situation, and I do think that they decided to continue the show clearly with Andy's blessing. Like the rest of the show is a tribute to him. Yeah, and it's a great show, so I'm thankful that they did continue.
Yeah, and that because they got to like finish the show. Like, this is a show that exists. Like, it's finished. It's not like canceled. It did not go on too long. It's like the perfect amount, and they get from the beginning of the story to the end. Not a lot of shows get to do that. It's pretty cool.
It is cool. Like, yeah, I agree. There are things that strike me as odd about the structure, but I don't like. I feel like maybe they're features,
or like.
I mean, I think in part because of Gods of the Arena, you have even more affection for the House of Batiatus than you would linearly.
True.
Like half the show now takes place in House of Batiatus and Capua, and when they move out of there, you're kind of like, I miss this.
I
feel
miss
like
these horrible humans.
Obviously, like. Much like some of our conversations about Xena, they let the show evolve. They kind of played with the hands they were dealt. I almost now wish that they had managed to keep some of the, without being spoilery, keeping some of the characters from House of Batiatus all the way through to the end.
But for
kind of continuity's sake. Yeah.
I read a thing and I agreed with it, and I don't think that certain people need to be there anymore. But anyway,
I wonder what that means.
Let's switch to the spoiler zone. And wait, one more thing. This is really basic that we didn't mention yet. As part of, we mentioned the style. We got all the cool people. It's like a fun show, but all that stuff. The music is super fun.
The music.
Joe LaDuca, right?
Of course. But if he's inhabiting the Mad Max Fury Road soundtrack,
it's like Duke Warrior is playing over the entire show.
It's so true.
It's so much fun.
Obviously, that's a perfect sound for this extremely over-the-top show, which goes, crazy choral music.
It also makes sense with Steve DeKnight, who has these arm tattoos all up and down his sleeves. Of course, this guy would.
It's so metal and crazy.
Yeah, it's really great. I wanted to give a shout out to the costume designer.
Yes, the costumes too.
She's great.
The costumes are make the damn thing.
Yeah,
it's so good. And we haven't yet mentioned it's Rob Tapert fabric special. how much he loves, like,
Yes, of blowing
glowing
silk.
fabrics.
So
He
many
loves it.
fabrics.
Yeah, the costumes are beautiful.
Yeah.
Not just like, I mean, I say that because
now they're in
think about
slow-mo.
dresses, but all of the costumes are.
The whole show is in slow-mo.
Yeah,
We
that's
have
what I
to
mean.
mention
So
that Rick
the whole-
Jacobson is involved
Oh yeah.
heavily.
Yeah. Oh, well, all our faves are there. We
Rick,
got
TJ.
Rick. We got TJ. We got
Michael.
Michael Hurst. Yeah. All the special.
Maybe we should have led
directors.
with all that.
Yeah, we probably should have mentioned them to begin with. They did a lot.
They did so much.
But yeah,
I mean, we it's a lineage. We mentioned it from here to there, but yeah,
but
they're
this
all
show
here.
is so much in slow motion that I feel like if you put it all at normal speed, it would be like
Half
4 more
the length.
seasons long.
No, shorter.
Math. It would be shorter.
It would be like 2 seasons instead of 4.
I can't do math.
seasons
Yeah, it would
long.
only be
Yeah.
2 seasons. There we go.
Beautiful show. So the prompt was best episodes.
Yeah, do
And-
we move into more spoilery territory?
We're gonna drop more spoiler bombs
Yeah,
here.
I guess.
To kind of just talk about the high heights of this show.
Okay, I mean, and then if you want to avoid that, but fast forward and listen to me talk about historical gladiator types.
Do you want to talk about that now?
Do you want to do that? All right, do that first, please, Vera.
Sure. Okay, if you're like me and you've only seen, well, I guess Spartacus, the old ass movie, and then Gladiator, the 2000 Best Picture winner, Gladiator.
Yeah.
You might be like watching Spartacus and you might go like, what the hell are these outfits? This is so weird. They look strange. But this is more accurate. This is like the way that they look as the gladiators. That's like
The
legit.
big helmets with
Yeah.
the plumes and the big,
Yeah.
what do you call it? The lids that go over the face. The face
Visors.
lids. Thank you. Those things.
Yeah, the funny helmets and the big puffy like leg and arm guards and stuff. That's like legit. And I mentioned that painting, the Polisi Verso. That sort of features that, and that's legit stuff from the ancient times.
Yeah.
So there's gladiators were very, very, very characterized, I guess. Like there's like we mentioned, they had no internet, so this was like their
Right.
big thing.
They had, to repeat, they had no internet. So they had to do
no
something
TikTok, okay?
with their time.
So yeah, so they structured everything kind of like Livy said. It was kind of like the wrestling federation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And MMA, which they
Yeah.
talk about on
For their fighting
Spartacus,
style.
They deliberately referenced some professional fighting.
Yeah,
That's the lineage.
Everybody has their
Yeah.
character. Everybody has like a type of the way that they fight. I'm not sure if it's like you're a slave and they're like, okay, you're gonna do this. It's not like your choice. I don't know. But there are different types. A lot of the warriors that we see in Spartacus are the Murmillo type. That's the big helmet,
Big helmets.
and the big shield. And then there's like characters like Spartacus and Gannicus. They're the Dimacharius. There's the 2 swords, no shield, no helmet. And that's
I
like
can see their beautiful faces.
yeah, the fact that you can see faces on some of these guys is a really big deal because number one, if you're like have to kill your like BFF, oops, that's like really bad if you see their face. It's a little bit easier with the helmet on, so kind of.
Yeah.
And then there's the retiarius, which it literally means net man in Latin, and that's the guys who have a trident and a fishnet. And that's like Barca. He was one of these guys from the Hunger Games. Finicadaire.
Okay. I was like, oh, a thing.
Yeah, when these guys became like, this is like a really weird, like you can go on a rabbit hole on Wikipedia about these guys because it says the gladiator's lack of armor and his reliance on evasive tactics meant that many considered the retiarius the lowliest and most effeminate of the gladiators.
Interesting.
Which is funny because
Seems-
he's the gay one.
It seems really hard to like fight with a net.
Yeah.
I think those guys must be pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they they developed this whole thing where they had like a different type of gladiator who like was like the fish that this guy was like the fisherman was supposed to like catch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you like they also became sort of like the most kind of besides the Murmillo, the visual ones that like you see in paintings and whatnot. But also know that they were made fun of as well. Just FYI.
while you're talking about just ye olde, like, stuff and references, I'm, like, 100% positive in, like, episode... I don't think it's the first episode, maybe it's the second episode. Very early on, there's a sequence of Spartacus getting ready to go into the arena, and he's, like, putting on the, like, arm bandage guards and sit in a certain way, and I'm 100% that they are referencing the boxer statue.
Oh my god.
Like, I don't see how they wouldn't be, but also that's just how it kind of is, so maybe they weren't, but, like, probably they were.
Which is
Wow.
a famous,
It's a very famous
Roman
statue.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with this thing.
She made
Look it
us
up.
run all around Rome to find it.
This is an incredible statue. Oh, if you play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you can see it everywhere.
Isn't it very big or something?
Yeah, but like the real one is kind of like normal.
Regular size.
Man size.
Yeah. It's this boxer. He's sitting there, and you can see he has like cuts, and his nose is puffy
Super
and broken,
detailed.
and it's just crazy the details on this thing. It's amazing. It's like one of my favorite statues ever.
We should also mention the fact that we went to the Colosseum when we were in Rome.
That's right.
In part because of Spartacus. Yeah.
And also because, like, maybe it's just what you do.
It's what you do.
But,
But
also
weirdly, like
thinking about Spartacus,
probably like around this time last year to
yeah.
be
Yes.
Wow. What a
Wow.
time.
Yeah, but if you recall our social media, Lucretia, we found Lucretia there.
was there.
She was there.
Found her.
But
We found Xena there, too.
yeah, there we did. Wow, what a coincidence! Both of them were there when we took a tour.
Yeah, crazy.
No, but like that experience was absolutely incredible. You can go underneath the
Yeah, we
kind
did
of
the underneath
floor
one.
parts
Yeah.
and to see kind of like where everybody was. You could walk into the literal cages where the gladiators sat. You
Yeah.
could see the fucking original tile floor that they sat on.
Yeah,
It's
when we
messed
can
up.
travel again, I highly recommend doing one of the ones that has the underground part. That was
Yeah.
an added bonus to the whole thing.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
absolutely amazing. And my favorite thing is to be obsessed with the toilets and plumbing of
Oh,
ancient
yeah.
Rome, and you could definitely
Wonderfully
take
preserved.
a tour of that as well.
Yeah, yeah, super great.
So anyway, spoiler
anyways,
corner.
spoiler
Yeah,
corner.
from
Best
the
of
toilets to the spoilers.
Well, there's an amazing scene where Batiatus and Salonius are on the toilet and they are talking shop. And
Yeah.
it's great.
Use that little scrubby brush.
Yeah,
I
they do
hate
a
it
scrubby
so
brush.
much.
Yeah.
Everything smells. If you think about how much everybody smells,
Yes.
God, I can't handle it.
Yeah. Yes.
What we were saying earlier about like kind of like the structure of the show is, and the prompt about best episodes is that like, this show is so serialized and like spends so much of every season setting stuff up that I would say almost every best episode in the top, there's, if I were to say top 5 and there's 4 seasons, like almost every single episode that is best is the finale.
Yeah.
Because they spend all of this time like just intricately creating all of these motivations and relationships, and then in every finale they all explode. And it is really, really incredible, and I think that that's why like watching it is so rewarding, because you get these like episodes that just are like, number one, a visual feast, but also just off the wall, bonkers, and like really, really fun. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is the season 1 finale,
Yeah,
right?
season
Which is
one
called
finale
Kill Them All.
is very famous, called Kill Them All.
And they do.
Yes. And so this is the like culmination of the whole season of Spartacus finally deciding to like lead this uprising against the House of Batiatus and escape. And they do that, and it is wild. There's like a party going on, and they are ready to kill everyone, and they do that.
Yeah.
And Lucy Lawless gets like a very fun stumble around.
Oh my god, yeah.
That I enjoy so much, and a wonderful tableau of death between her and John Hannah. Spoilers, she does not die because she is in 2 more seasons. yeah, that episode is amazing.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to, like, so it takes place, obviously, in their villa, which is on a cliffside. That's crazy.
Oh my god, that cliff is
Very high up.
a star of the show,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
So much stuff is probably at the bottom. Like, no, we know. So much stuff is at the bottom of that cliff. They throw all this junk and
all their
bodies
bodies,
down there. But anyway, their villa has, like water is really important for the show because there's a drought at one point, et cetera, et cetera. But they have, as the structure of Roman or ancient Roman villas were, that there was like a little water kind of like, I don't know, pool in their kind of courtyard. And the amount of blood that goes into it at the end and how they're like literally like die there at the end in this tableau is kind of perfect. It says so much about the theming of the whole show.
Yeah. It's such a perfect, like, you know, because the entire season just about takes place in that set. The way Kill Them All uses the set, you know, kind of for the bloodbath at the end is so awesome. And also just the architecture of the training courtyard with the balcony and like the big moment where uprising literally happens is that Spartacus leaps from the slave level to the aristocrat level.
Yeah.
So I
very
feel like
Xena-esque of him.
Yeah.
it's very Xena-esque, but it's just such a perfect kind of visual symbol of what happens over the course of the show, which is, you know, that balcony. That, you know, so many characters have lorded it over the gladiators and watched them, and then Spartacus demonstrates that divide is permeable, and that's an amazing moment. I get chills thinking about that. Yeah.
Ooh.
Is it weird that he was the title is quoting Xena?
Kill them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, Katie, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, is that episode where Alithia smashes that lady's face in, is that horror?
Yeah.
That one's fun.
Yeah.
That one's great. I mean, the season one, like, really memorable parts are that when she like and the teeth go flying on the tiles floor, you know, that
Nasty.
one. Though, and then obviously, the one where Varro dies.
Yeah, that's probably the most
That's
memorable
such a beautiful
to me.
scene. And just, God.
I mean, that represents
scene.
everything, of course. It's kind of like the catalyst for their actual rebellion at the end of the season, which is that this kid is having like a bar mitzvah, basically, and he's like, wants to see the gladiators fight, and it's agreed that it's just like a little for sport, and so they, you know, the best friends Spartacus and Varro fight.
It's supposed to be an exhibition game.
It's just for funsies. Match. And then the kid is like, ha ha ha, well, I want this. And
thumbs down.
Yeah, thumbs down. And then the dad is like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I'll reimburse you for this guy.
I'll just reimburse you
I'll just pay you for
human
him.
Person.
For this life.
Just it's really interesting to watch this show right now. I just feel like because these fucking assholes and just the casual, it's just so casual, the like cruelty against another human being.
Right.
It can be like hard to watch it despite the, you know, fun music and pretty costumes. And,
definitely.
Over the top violence. It's just like these people are the fucking worst, man.
Yeah.
It's
They're
part
the
of why
worst.
I feel like the, you know, Batiatus house is so fascinating because sometimes you see them, you know, cringing and mourning when one of the gladiators is injured or dies, but then you realize, oh, they're sad
because they lost
investment.
their exactly.
So you have
like,
this like weird, these very weird transactional relationships over the course of those first
because they
seasons.
put that's why they're so like complex characters, and like, you know, there's the scene where Lucretia is like with the two body slaves and like has to make them take their clothes off in front of those guys, and you can tell she's like
she doesn't
want to do it, but she has to.
At the same time, she's literally basically raping Crixus to get pregnant.
Right.
Like forcing him to have sex with her because she hasn't been able to have a child with Batiatus. And just the way they just like casually use these people is like,
well, not to mention how whenever they like her and her husband want to have sex, slave, come get me started, come get me started. And then later, like when we meet Nasir and his like his Dominus is like, oh yeah, put cock and ass and let me finish, you know, like. It's very, that's just like their normal day life's work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the way the slaves are treated throughout. I mean, the show does not flinch away from showing just every aspect of that. But
Which
yet
is why I think
they're
it's so
such
smart
human
and
characters.
Yeah.
so much more than it seems. It's like really talking about all of these issues of like power and oppression and greed and just how fucking horrible it is. And I feel like a lot of people might not really know that from just looking at it from a distance.
For
It's
sure,
really
for sure.
smart.
Yeah.
Watch the show.
Yep.
Other fave eps.
Oh,
More finales.
well,
actually.
still in season 1, the one where like Alithia wants to have sex with the gladiator, and
I think that's the same one where she bashes in.
yeah, the
friend's
lady
head.
sees it, yeah, because she's like, "Oops, it's Spartacus."
Well, that to me was all very Shakespearean because you have that sort of like bedroom switcheroos. I mean, I think a lot of the drama, especially for the Roman plots, feels to me very Shakespearean, which makes sense because he's taking from Roman playwrights, so you kind of have that theatrical thread.
Yeah, but seeing him like painted Spartacus like in painted gold with his like dick out and stuff. It like weirdly reminded me of in Tipping the Velvet when she's painted gold with the dick.
Oh,
You're right. I don't see that.
Yeah, it's just they were doing like an ancient.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah,
so there you
like
go.
tableau. Yeah, you're right. That must be a thing.
Our other favorite episodes besides season 1 stuff.
Well, season.
All of Gods of the Arena.
All of Gods of the Arena. Gods of the Arena is only 6 episodes, and they're all
worth your
They're
time.
all worth your time. They're all very good. And I love the 4th episode because it is sad and gives Lucy Lawless some very, very lovely and good acting moments. Unfortunately, Jamie Murray does not make it out of the season. She's only in those 4 episodes.
Wow, it's like the Callisto of Spartacus. She's only in 4 episodes.
What a memorable 4 episodes
Yeah.
they are. She's a really fun character, and it potentially falls into barrier gaze, but not really. Maybe a little. It's Spartacus a little bit. I'm not like that. I'm not that mad about it. Just my perspective.
I feel like it's just so clear when Gaia enters the show that she's going to be bad news. It's
Yeah.
unclear whether, she herself will be the bad news or whether she will bring it for others.
What's the episode called? Shoot, I had it.
Which one are you talking about?
It's like beneath the floor. So I don't know. The one that she dies in. Anyway, it's very good. I love that one.
And that guy's very creepy. The guy who murders her.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
also a Xena person. Stephen Lovett?
Stephen Lovett.
Yeah.
So favorite of Renpix. He's like in every of their show, and he was like, I was mad about him as Hades, but like,
Right.
Oh yeah.
Second Hades.
second Hades, but he's really, really, really great as this like smarmy fucking guy, Tullius.
Ugh, yeah. Gods of the Arena villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one. Also, because there's just very, very, very beautiful Lucy flowing dresses.
Katie
in
can tell you
slow-mo.
every episode where there's a good Lucy dress flowing.
We'll talk
shot.
about that in the upcoming
IMDb
experience at some point very soon. And then the other finales.
Yeah, just keep talking about finales.
I just think they're so good.
Yeah.
Spartacus Vengeance finale is pretty epic.
I mean, it's really epic.
More Lucy stuff in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will address this now because now I'm remembering what you said about having some of the characters continue into season 4, which I could only assume meant Lucy Lawless and maybe Viva Bianca.
Yes, I think so. I think, and even like Craig Parker. Like you feel like I didn't want I feel like season 4 has to then introduce all these new Roman characters as antagonists, and while I think some of that is they do a really good job, for example, with Crassus. But I did sort of just want some continuity.
But that's historically correct.
I know.
They're the ways that they like sort of try to put out their rebellions was like in spurts.
I was just gonna say like what Steve Knight said about like the decision to not have like Lucy Lawless, for example, continue when she is of course so great. Like Moran, this was an interview that she did, I believe, because she did so much, as I said, was like, why would you do such a thing? And basically his answer was that the Spartacus War is taking them in this like very broad scope away from Capua, and like going up against, you know, the Republic and guys like Crassus, that he wanted characters who are big and important like Lucretia and Alithea to go out in like real Spartacus like style, as opposed to just like tertiarily touching base with them for no reason, going back to Capua when you don't need them there. Like what would they do if they went to
inventing
Rome?
reasons?
Like, so he just didn't want, he wanted them to go out in a blaze of glory, and then move the plot to like the war going on elsewhere. So that's what he said. But I feel you. I
get it, but yeah, I can definitely see some plot where Lucretia goes to Rome and has to deal with Crassus and is sort of like his, you know, the one person he has around who can like give him real intelligence.
But how? What
about
is her
Spartacus.
status?
Well, remember she was like she became a mystic, right?
Yeah,
so she
that was
like,
fun. That period when she's almost like a Cassandra.
Yeah, so I wanted her to like become like famous and go to Rome.
I think you definitely could have done stuff, and you know, just in like I was sort of saying that it's interesting that all the characters are social climbers in various ways. Like to have a character like that who could kind of continue through the course of the show and remake herself in some completely different context by the end.
Those are real. Those, I guess, they were being like, these are real people,
and they clearly wanted the screen time to devote to Crassus and Caesar, who are interesting in their own right.
But
some of the
real
people
too,
around
quote
them.
unquote.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, you know, you needed to be able to develop Crassus in that last season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do find that War of the Damned for me is a little less.
That's the fourth season.
That's
the final season.
The final season has a little less in it for me. Like, I care about the rebellion and those characters, but I'm less interested kind of in all the stuff surrounding.
That's what I mean. I'm like all the like lady characters that they like introduce in that season.
Right. They're kind of trying to do some stuff.
I don't care about you at all. And then you have these new guys. As the baddies, like it's like a lot of like just new stuff.
Though their take on Caesar is really interesting,
right.
Especially considering that this is from the makers of Xena, where I mean that was also kind of a very different take on Caesar as, you know, petulant man boy Kyle.
Yes.
I feel like this is another very young Caesar, but he's scary.
Yeah,
I feel like
he has a lot more, I guess, balls than Kyle.
and I enjoyed the plot in the final season where he infiltrates the rebellion. That stuff was very interesting.
That guy, the actor, looks so much like a busted Hemsworth brother. Like, it's messed up.
We say that as a compliment.
I guess. And then Crassus himself is like just kind of gross and like just like sinewy dude, and I guess perfect for that horrible character.
Yeah.
And I feel I feel good about how Gabrielle's going to murder him later.
Right.
So,
for sure.
Yeah. You know, you end the show. He gets away with killing, you know, our main guys. But like, I'm like, buddy, you have something coming to you.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Oh my god.
So yeah, the
finale.
Oh yeah, we want to talk about Gannicus's.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite moment in the whole show is Gannicus's death scene.
Yeah,
and another great and memorable crucifixion scene.
Yeah,
for Renpix.
They love to crucify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The sort of row of crucified slaves, like leading to Rome or whatever. That was like a really powerful shot, but having Ganny captured, like the way that he was captured, kind of like boxed in by the...
Which doesn't even feel fair.
By the Romans.
Yeah. He does, you know, he's been this, you know, larger than life Achilles character, and he's defeated in this...
Yeah, he's champion, he's freed, he's a freed...
Right, he's the only slave we see who actually does successfully win his freedom.
Got his Rudis, and he's like kind of like boxed in by these guys, and he's captured, and clearly like influenced by Gladiator. A lot of these guys, like when they're about to die, they see, you know, like at the end of Gladiator,
The thing
they see
that
the
means
thing
the
and the
most
wheat,
to them.
you know,
The dead lady, usually.
but not
But
Gannicus.
not Gannicus, despite having a lot of ladies.
Yes,
His
and
true love.
he's promised a threesome in heaven, I guess.
Yes,
so he
him
sees
and Animaeus. I love their friendship, but that's not the part we're talking about.
No.
He has this incredible vision of being champion in the arena. The camera spins around the cross, and you see the audience watching him
And chanting his
crucified,
name.
chanting his name and screaming, and then it cuts to a close-up of him, and he is just like blissed out. Adulation.
I'm like literally crying, like just like imagining it, because it was just so good. And it's like if you sort of cut to like his like last moments of Gods of the Arena, it's like he gets, you know, he wins, he gets his freedom, and people are chanting his name so the same
happy.
way, and it's like
his character is fascinating because he wins his freedom and he doesn't really do all that much with it.
Well, it's the thing where like his best life was in the arena. He's like a former sports champion, you know.
He can never quite move past that.
Yeah.
And at his moment of death, he goes back to it, and it's that's
so beautiful.
His heaven.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously like Spartacus's last bits there were really
very powerful.
Yeah. They kill him, and
Agron
and Nasir make it out.
Mourn him. Yeah, I thought Agron's speech...
Navia and Crixus also do not. And they have a big old scene too.
Yeah.
It's like pretty
a lot
upsetting.
Of beheadings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agron is the only character from House Batiatus to make it out alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well done. Well done.
I love his speech at the end to Spartacus where he says that, you know, Rome will fall, but everybody will remember Spartacus's name, especially those people yearning for freedom. I thought that was... Like,
and didn't he go, that's not... He said that it's not his name.
Yeah. Spartacus's answer is, that's not my name.
Wow. Yeah,
Whoops.
That's so good. Well...
But it's true. It's
catchy one.
It lives on.
Yeah.
So I guess those were the best episodes. All of Spartacus.
That's my answer. All of the finales,
the
and then
episodes.
all the it's hard because all the episodes are kind of samey and good, and then the finale goes crazy, and they're amazing. That's why I found it difficult to like put a list of best.
Right. It's like Game of Thrones episode 9s. They were always like the big ones.
It's like
I think it is similarly structured in that I wouldn't be able to call out that many different episodes of Game of Thrones because, you know, you tend to just see it as one big story.
One big story.
That's right.
Yeah, with crazy endings. And really, really good show. Always relevant. Always worth watching.
We recommend highly.
Yeah.
And thank you, Liz, for being our patron. Patron House Xena Warrior podcast.
Gratitude.
Oh, yeah. Gratitude.
Really good language. Really fun. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
So, thumbs up or thumbs down for Xena Warrior podcast.
Better be thumbs up.
No.
Oh, before we go, I wanted to do a quick shout out to Xena Warrior Musical by Luce and Rose. And it's a really awesome original musical. You can check that out on their website, xenawarriormusical.com.
Cool.
You can listen to their music on Bandcamp.
That's right.
They've got a few songs up and they're really fun. They're also on Facebook and Instagram at Xena Warrior Musical.
All right. I guess that's it for us. And you can put down your gladius and your shield. We're all set.
As a reminder, Lucy Lawless IMDb Experience.
Soon.
Coming to a Patreon near you, patrons.
Yes.
And you can follow us on all this stuff and the things.
We are on the internet, xenawarriorpodcast.com. You can literally find everything you could ever want over there. You can listen, download, etc., etc. We are on Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe and rate and leave reviews, which we always love to read. We are now also on Spotify, so you can listen on Spotify, which is the thing that lots of people use, so you can find us there or wherever else you listen to podcasts, because that's where we are also. And on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod, and Facebook, Xena Warrior Podcast.
The power!
The passion.
The podcast!